Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that sounds pretty simple, but I think it often gets overlooked.
Hmm.
It's the power of actually, acknowledging and celebrating our achievements. Big ones, small ones, all of them.
Yeah, it's so easy to just tick a box and move right on to the next thing, isn't it? Without really letting the win sink in.
Exactly. So we want to explore why hitting pause, why recognizing that progress actually really matters.
And it's interesting, we've been looking at some perspectives on this, particularly drawing from Lestallion, the folks who make those journals.
Right, the ones designed specifically for this kind of thing.
Exactly. Their whole approach kind of highlights the benefits of actively recognizing what we get done. It's a common human thing to downplay wins, but they focus on why that's maybe not the best approach.
Absolutely. So our goal today, our mission, if you like, is to understand why this celebration thing is, well, more than just feeling good for a moment. We want to get into the real benefits for, our growth, both personally and maybe professionally too. And look at how certain tools, like those Lestallion journals, can help make this a regular habit.
And they are nicely designed for it. I mean, they're not just blank pages.
No, definitely not. They feel quite premium, actually. You get, 211 numbered pages?
Yeah, numbered pages and that table of contents right at the front, which is surprisingly useful.
Totally. And the paper's that smooth 120 GSM stuff, it feels substantial. It's
Yeah.
like they've set it up to be this dedicated space for building that success story, honoring your own journey.
A proper record.
Yeah. So, okay, let's start right there. Why is journaling specifically such a powerful way to celebrate achievements? What's going on there?
Well, I think what's fascinating is that it's more than just like jotting things down. It becomes this focused practice, almost meditative,
Okay.
a time you set aside for self-reflection. And doing that consistently really boosts your self-awareness when you actually write down what you've done.
You're making it concrete.
Exactly. You're reinforcing a positive mindset. And there's some science here, too. Acknowledging success can trigger dopamine release.
The brain chemistry.
Right. Creates that little positive feedback loop, makes you want to repeat the behavior. Plus, the act of writing it down helps you track progress over time, which gives you real perspective.
Hmm.
And it naturally builds gratitude because you're shifting focus to what you've done, not just what's still left to do.
That makes sense. Away from the endless to-do list.
Yeah. And all of that, the reflection, the gratitude, it leads to better mental clarity. It reinforces your sense of self-worth, your confidence.
Right, right. You're making those abstract feelings of, I did okay,
Yeah.
into something more solid. And it's not just about, like, the massive project completion, is it?
Oh, definitely not.
I was chatting with a friend. She started this little online craft business.
Yeah.
Super talented.
Okay.
But in the beginning, she was just obsessed with hitting some huge sales number. So every time she'd get like 2 or 3 orders.
She felt it wasn't enough.
Totally.
Yeah.
She'd immediately feel like she was failing somehow. It wasn't until she started kind of deliberately noting the smaller wins.
Like what?
Oh, someone leaving a really nice comment on her Instagram, or a customer saying they loved her packaging, even just figuring out some tricky shipping thing that had been bugging her.
Ah, the little problem-solving victories.
Yeah. When she started writing those down, her whole attitude shifted. Her enthusiasm really picked up.
That's a perfect example. Documenting those seemingly minor things is incredibly powerful. It really fosters that goal-oriented mindset you need. Each little entry, each acknowledgement, it keeps the motivation humming along, whether it's personal stuff or work projects.
Right.
And that's where, the design of a journal like Lestallion's can be quite helpful. Having those lined pages, or grid pages if you prefer.
Is the structure.
Exactly. Helps you organize those thoughts, see the journey clearly. It's not just a random scribble.
Okay, so if we know it's beneficial, we know recording even small wins helps.
Mm-hmm.
Why do so many of us just not do it? Why do we just keep charging ahead?
Well, there are a few reasons, and they often overlap, I think. One big one is just that relentless drive for the next goal.
The what's next syndrome.
Pretty much. You achieve something, and boom, your focus immediately snaps to the next challenge on the horizon. We often don't actually schedule time for that reflection, do we?
No, it feels like a luxury sometimes.
It does. Our lives are busy. It feels like a constant rush. Then you've got things like imposter syndrome.
Ah, yes, that old chestnut.
Very real for a lot of people. Feeling like your success is down to luck or timing, not your own skills or effort. Psychologists also talk about the negativity bias. We just tend to remember and focus on the bad stuff more than the good.
Unfortunately true.
And let's face it, society tends to hype up the huge monumental achievements, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which would make us feel like our smaller everyday wins don't really count for much.
Right, like unless you cured a disease or climbed Mount Everest, did it even happen?
Kinda, yeah. Which is silly because those small wins are the building blocks.
Totally. So how does having a dedicated journal notebook, like the Lestallion ones we mentioned, specifically help push back against these tendencies? How does it help us not overlook our progress?
I think the key thing is that it creates that space. It carves out time and a physical place purely for celebration and reflection.
It makes it intentional.
Exactly. It actively counters that feeling that achievements are just, fleeting or unimportant. By making the effort to write it down, you turn these abstract successes into actual tangible proof of your growth.
Evidence.
Evidence, yeah.
Right.
And this practice, it naturally encourages better goal setting too. When you regularly note achievements, you often start seeing how bigger goals break down into smaller steps.
Makes them less daunting.
Much less daunting. And over time, that journal becomes this amazing personal archive, right? A record of your development. Super valuable when you look back, maybe at the end of the year or something.
A year in review just for you.
Yeah. And maybe the most important bit is it gives you that visual proof of success, seeing the pages fill up. That's a powerful boost for confidence and motivation.
I can really see that. Having that physical record. It makes me think of a friend of mine, let's call him Liam. Super talented guy, really good at his job.
Okay.
Gets great feedback, consistently delivers good work. But he always just brushed it off, finish a huge project, and immediately start stressing about the next deadline. Never seemed to take a moment to actually acknowledge what he'd just pulled off.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And it got to the point where he was just feeling constantly stressed, kind of burnt out, and like he wasn't really making an impact, even though objectively he was.
That's so common. Without that structured pause for acknowledgement, even self-acknowledgement, it's easy to feel like you're just running on a hamster wheel.
Totally. Leads to burnout, feeling undervalued.
Yeah, and it chips away at your sense of your own ability, even when the evidence says otherwise.
Right. On a slightly different note, my sister, she started learning Spanish a while back.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But initially, she was only focused on the big goal, being fluent, which felt miles away, obviously.
Very intimidating.
So after every lesson, if she wasn't suddenly having deep philosophical conversations, she'd feel really discouraged, like I'm getting nowhere.
Right.
But then she started using just a simple notebook, actually, to track the little things, like, okay, today I learned these 10 new verbs, or, hey, I understood that line in the movie without subtitles.
The small breakthroughs.
Exactly. Or even just feeling a tiny bit less terrified trying to order coffee. Once she started noting those down, she suddenly saw all this progress she'd been completely missing before.
That's brilliant.
It totally changed her motivation. She wasn't just slogging towards some distant peak. She was actually enjoying the climb, celebrating the little footholds along the way.
That perfectly illustrates it, doesn't it? Acknowledging those incremental steps creates that positive feedback loop. Each entry becomes a little reminder, look, you are moving forward. Makes the whole thing feel less overwhelming and more rewarding.
Yeah. And this really brings us back to why the specific features of a journal like Lestallion's are actually pretty relevant here. For someone like Liam, my friend who was burning out, imagine if you'd been using one. With the numbered pages, the table of contents.
He could easily flip back.
Exactly. Look back at Project X completed, positive client feedback received, milestone Y achieved. It would have been much harder for him to dismiss his own work when he had that documented history right there, easily accessible.
Absolutely. That structure makes review possible. And for your sister learning Spanish, the line pages would give her that clear space to list her new vocab, jot down phrases she used successfully.
Right. Keeps it organized.
And that physical act of writing it down in a dedicated spot especially, maybe, a nice journal that feels a bit special, like the Lestallion ones, it reinforces the idea that these small wins are significant.
It elevates the act itself.
It does. The quality signals that this practice of self-reflection is valuable. It's worth doing properly.
And there was that story about Emily too, right? From the source material. Successful marketing professional, but plagued by imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's right. Doing well on paper, but inside, feeling like a fraud. Her mentor apparently suggested she use a Lestallion journal specifically to track daily wins.
No matter how small.
Exactly. And the results were pretty significant, weren't they, within about 6 months?
She felt a real shift.
Yeah. The journal apparently had some goal-setting prompts. It pushed her to actively acknowledge those little daily achievements. And then looking back over the year, she could actually see her growth, track it.
Tangible proof again?
Precisely. That structured practice directly helped combat the imposter feelings and gave her self-belief a serious boost.
It really shows how a simple tool, used consistently, can make a difference. So, okay, let's sort of wrap this up.
Yeah.
The key takeaway seems to be that using a dedicated journal for celebrating achievements, it's not just a nice to have. It's actually a really powerful tool for personal growth.
I'd agree with that. It helps build that crucial self-awareness. It fosters resilience because you're reminding yourself of what you can do.
Right, focusing on strengths.
And it keeps motivation going by showing you the progress you're making step by step.
Mm.
And yeah, a well-designed journal like the Lestallion with those thoughtful features, numbered pages, TOC, good paper, it really supports making that practice effective and maybe more enjoyable too.
It provides the system.
It provides a tangible system, yeah, for tracking progress, actively building gratitude for your successes, and pushing back against that natural tendency we have to just look at what's next or what went wrong.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As you go through your day or your week, just pause for a second and think about the achievements, big or maybe really small, that you might normally just brush past. What would it actually feel like to give them a moment, to acknowledge them properly? And what might you discover about yourself, about your journey, if you made documenting that progress a regular thing?
Yeah, what patterns might emerge? What strengths might you see more clearly?
Exactly. Definitely something worth exploring, I think.